لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا
قالوا لئن أكله الذئب ونحن عصبة إنا إذا لخاسرون.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. So, as we mentioned, Yaqub alayhi salam could have put his foot down. He could have said, you know what, I'm not going to let you take Yusuf alayhi salam, end of story, I know what you are up to. Rather, he did begrudgingly allow them to take him. Now, what does that teach us? It teaches a very important lesson about parenting. And that is, sometimes as parents, our children are going to do something and they're not going to listen to us. That happens often, no? Where they want to do something, you're going to tell them not to, but you know that they're still going to do it. How should you handle that situation? Well, let's just think about a number of approaches. If you did put your foot down, especially in these times where in society is not telling children to obey and listen to their parents and respect them. Rather, society is telling children to be rebellious, to do what they want, to live life to the max. Now, if that is the case, and if you did put your foot down and say, no, you're not going to, what is likely to happen? What's likely to happen is that they will do exactly what they were going to do anyway. But secondly, they will feel bitter towards you. They will feel bitter towards you and they will rebel against you. Meaning that they will become even more distant towards you. They will think, Mom and Dad, they're always on my back, they don't listen to me, they don't let me do what I want to do, and they confront me every time I want to do something. They tell me I'm naughty, they tell me I'm up to no good, they don't trust me. Now, this is a possible outcome, no, of putting your foot down. Yaqub alayhi salam could have said, no, I'm not going to let you take him, end of story. But then they most probably would have still taken him, and at the same time, they would have kind of distanced themselves from Dad. Now we can't go back to Dad, we can't speak to Dad anymore. Dad knows what we're up to, and perhaps they would drift away, and that relationship between father and sons would become damaged, if not broken. True or not? The other approach, which is that Yaqub alayhi salam took, was that no, this isn't right, don't do this. And the way, subhanAllah, he told them that this isn't right was also very indirect. He said, I fear that the wolf may eat him. Now, it's possible that he really believed that could happen, but it's also possible, as Ibn Abid said, that he was talking metaphorically. He was talking metaphorically, meaning that the wolf may eat him, as if to say, I can see all of you looking at Yusuf just like your wolves, okay, wanting to devour a sheep. So I'm kind of hinting to you indirectly that I know what you're up to, but I'm being indirect about it. Do you see? He's saying al-dhi'b. He said the wolf, when it would have been more appropriate to say, I fear a wolf may devour him. By saying the wolf, he's kind of identifying the wolf. I know which wolf, meaning you guys are like the wolves here. But why was he being indirect? And why didn't he put his foot down? Well, because he knows that they're still going to do it. So the best thing for me is to advise them the best I can, but don't be direct about it. And more to the point, don't be confrontational about it. If I am able to advise them and they listen, all good and well. But if they don't, then at least after doing the wrong thing that they are planning to do, they will still come back to me. And there will still be a bridge there for me to work with them with. And subhanAllah, that is exactly what happens. Towards the end of the story, the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they become reformed. And they are still living with Dad. And they still have that care and that love for Dad. And that is the reason why they keep going back to Egypt towards the end of the story. And that is the basis of the whole reunion that takes place. So Dad, Yaqub alayhi salam, was teaching us that sometimes your children are going to do bad things. Advise them, but don't break the bridge of reform. Keep that there and try and be indirect, hoping that if they don't listen now, that they may listen afterwards. But if they're going to listen to you afterwards, it means there needs to be a level of respect that is still there with your children, and you need to maintain that. So So this is a little lesson we learn from Yaqub alayhi salam. So what do the sons then say? They say, قالوا لئن أكله الذئب ونحن عصبة إنا إذا لخاسرون. They say to dad, if the wolf is going to eat him whilst we are an usbah, then that would mean we are big time losers. Do you see what they're doing here? They're being very emotional and trying to emotionally blackmail dad. They're saying, Dad, are you telling us one wolf will devour Yusuf when there are 10 of us protecting him? I mean, what does that say about us if that did happen? إِذَا لَخَاسِرُونَ, that would mean we're losers. Are you saying that we're losers? Do you see what they're doing here? They're being very cunning. And again, they cite the fact that they are an usbah. How can that happen, Dad? وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ, whilst we are this tough gang of boys. Do you really think we're going to let that happen? So it was clear that, subhanAllah, they weren't going to listen. Now, I want to speak a little bit here about envy. This is all being driven by envy. The idea to kill their brother, followed up by lying to dad's face, and then trying to emotionally blackmail him. And then we'll see that they actually go through with the deed, and then they have to make up an extravagant story to try and cover it up. So this one sin of envy has opened the door to a whole journey down a dark alleyway of more and more sins, subhanAllah. This is the nature of envy, that it can destroy a person. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said that envy consumes your good deeds just like fire consumes wood, that it eats away at you inside and it eats away at your iman. And so that is why the Prophet ﷺ told us, لا تباغضوا ولا تحاسدوا, in a hadith which is authentic, do not hold grudges against each other and do not envy one another, teaching us that hasad, envy, is haram. It is not something just bad, it is something that you earn sin for if you have this envy. Now, what does it mean to envy someone? Well, the basic meaning is that you wish for the blessing of another person to vanish. Somebody has something which you don't have. Actually, you may even have it. But just the fact that they have something of a blessing and you wishing that, you know what, I wish I didn't have it. For example, kids in a classroom. One child sees another with the latest mobile phone. Maybe it's an iPhone 6. And they have an iPhone 3 from way back in the day. So when they see him, they're like, oh man, he's got an iPhone 6. And I wish you never had that. That there is a statement of envy. Just that feeling. And subhanAllah, it doesn't happen just between friends or classroom buddies. It can happen between family members, and this is what is happening here, that the brothers are envious of their own brother, subhanallah. So they have that envy, wishing that Yusuf alayhi salam is robbed of father's love. Dad loves him more than us, we wish that wasn't the case. In fact, they go further. They wish that he never was loved by their dad and that he's killed instead and he's taken out of the picture. That's even one grade worse than just wishing that he wasn't loved by dad, right? So they've driven to a more extreme form of envy. And that, subhanAllah, teaches us, my brothers and sisters, that we should try and look to other people, and when we see they have a blessing, we should say, MashaAllah. That is something that Allah has willed. Meaning, don't say, oh my God, I wish I had that and he didn't have that. Because what you're actually saying is, subhanAllah, Allah, you made a mistake. Why did you give him that iPhone 6? I mean, he doesn't deserve that. Subhanallah, you just said, Allah, you made a mistake. He doesn't deserve that. Now that is a big problem, no? Of course it is. So this is reflecting of a very bad attitude. And one of the ways you can help yourself not feeling hasad for other people is to make dua to Allah first and foremost, like Allah taught us, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. And then at the end, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ, that you seek refuge in Allah. Oh Allah, I am asking for your refuge from the envier when he envies. So you're asking Allah first of all to protect you from the envier when he envies you. But you yourself, you may envy someone too. Why do people envy each other? Well, it's because they're very worldly. They see things that other people have and they want them themselves. Why? Because they're so worldly. Hubb-ud-dunya, love of the dunya. So to help treat your own problem of envy, you should try and reduce your love of dunya. How do you do that? Well, one of the ways is to shop less, buy less clothes, buy less extravagant foods and dining places that are lush and lavish. All of these things, they increase the luxury in your life. And when the luxury is increased and you have little comforts in your life, well, of course, your love of those things increases too. And when your love of those things increases, you have a stronger attachment to the world. And so when somebody else has something you don't have, well, it doesn't sit well with you. And sometimes it leads you to envy. So we should ask Allah to remove envy from our hearts. And we should also beg Allah to give us refuge from the envier. And we should also work on ourselves to try and reduce the amount of worldliness we have in our lives. And instead, let us think about the akhirah, Jannah. Inshallah, that brings us to the end of this episode, and we'll continue the story in the following one. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لا إله إلا الله. لا إله